The golden sun was setting over the vast African savanna, casting long shadows across the dry grass. The air shimmered with heat, and the evening breeze carried the cries of distant animals preparing for the night. Near a small watering hole, a lone lion named Kavu lay watching the horizon. He was known throughout the plains as a fierce yet wise protector, not only feared by his enemies, but respected by many creatures who had witnessed his courage. His thick golden mane swayed slightly as he breathed deeply, sensing that something in the air was different tonight. The savannah was never truly silent, but this quiet felt uneasy, too still, too calm. Kavu rose to his feet and began walking toward the forest that bordered the plains. He had no pride of his own anymore. Years ago, a battle with rival lions had left him wounded and alone, but he had survived stronger and more aware of the delicate balance of life around him. Ever since, he had lived as a wanderer, sometimes helping the weak, sometimes hunting alone, but always watching the world around him with deep understanding. As he moved closer to the forest edge, he heard faint rustling followed by a soft whimpering sound. It wasn't the call of a gazelle or the squeak of a small prey animal. This was something else, something frightened, helpless. Kavu crouched low, his sharp eyes scanning the bushes ahead. There, just beyond a cluster of acacia trees, he saw it, a tiny baby gorilla, no more than a few months old, trembling beneath a fallen branch. Its fur was matted with dust, and its eyes wide with fear. The poor creature was all alone. Kavu hesitated. He knew gorillas usually stayed in groups. The mother, the troop, where were they? He looked around carefully but saw no sign of others. Then, in the distance, he caught the faintest scent, blood and fear. His instincts told him what had happened before he even saw the evidence. A pack of hyenas. They had attacked the gorilla troop, and the adults must have fought bravely to protect the young one. But hyenas were cunning. They might have scattered the group, killing some and chasing others. The baby must have been left behind in the chaos. Kavu took a step closer, his shadow falling across the frightened gorilla. The little one whimpered again and tried to crawl backward, clearly terrified by the sight of the lion. But Kavu lay down slowly, lowering his head so his movements didn't seem threatening. He let out a low rumble, not a growl, but a deep, calming sound that he often used to reassure cubs in his old pride. The baby froze, watching him carefully. For a few moments, the two simply stared at each other, a predator and a vulnerable infant, two species that should have no bond. Then Kavu heard it, laughter. Harsh cackling echoing across the plains. Hyenas, the same pack, was returning, their cruel voices growing louder with every second. The baby gorilla's eyes darted toward the sound, and it whimpered in panic, crawling toward Kavu's paw as if instinctively seeking protection. Kavu's muscles tensed. He looked toward the approaching shapes, 6, maybe 7 hyenas, their eyes glinting with hunger and malice. The lead hyena, a large female named Zara, stopped a few meters away, grinning wickedly. "Well, well," she sneered, her voice dripping with mockery. "What do we have here? The mighty lion babysitting a snack?" The others burst into shrill laughter. Kavu's amber eyes hardened, and he rose to his full height. The ground beneath him seemed to tremble as he let out a low growl that rippled through the air like thunder. "You've done enough damage tonight," he snarled. "Leave." Zara tilted her head, amused. "Leave? You must be joking. That little thing belongs to us now. We started the feast, don't think you can take it from us." The hyenas began to spread out, circling him slowly. Their claws crunched against the dry earth. Kavu positioned himself in front of the baby gorilla, who clung to his hind leg, trembling. The lion's eyes darted from one side to another, calculating every move. He was outnumbered, but not outmatched. The first hyena lunged, trying to snap at the baby. Kavu moved with lightning speed, his massive paw slamming into the hyena's face, sending it sprawling into the dirt. The others hesitated, momentarily stunned, but then 3 attacked at once. Kavu roared a sound so deep and powerful that even the distant birds took flight. He charged into the pack, claws flashing, teeth bared. The battle was fierce. Hyenas yelped and snapped, but Kavu fought like a storm. He knocked one to the ground, clamped his jaws on another's shoulder, and swung his body to throw a third into the thorn bushes. But the hyenas were relentless. They kept coming, biting at his legs, scratching his sides. Blood began to stain Kavu's golden fur. The baby gorilla cried out, hiding beneath a nearby log. Kavu roared again, throwing off two attackers, but he could feel his strength fading. Then, as if realizing they couldn't overpower him head on, Zara called for a retreat, a tactical one. "Let's see how long you can protect it, lion," she hissed, retreating into the shadows. "We'll be back when you're too tired to stand." Kovu stood panting, his sides heaving, his body ached, but the hyenas were gone for now. The little gorilla crawled toward him, whimpering softly. Kovu lay down beside it, gently licking its dusty fur as if it were one of his own cubs. The baby looked up at him with wide eyes, confused, scared, but comforted. Night fell across the savannah, the stars glittered overhead, and the distant roars of other predators echoed in the distance. Kovu stayed awake, keeping guard. Every sound made his ears twitch, every rustle drew his attention. The baby eventually fell asleep, snuggled against his mane. Kovu looked down at the tiny creature and felt something stir in his heart, something he hadn't felt in years. He had lost his pride, his cubs, his mate, but tonight, for the first time in a long while, he had something to protect again. Morning came and the hyenas returned. This time there were more, nearly a dozen. Kovu stood, his body still sore but his spirit burning like fire. The baby gorilla hid behind a rock, its small hands trembling. Zara approached again, her grin wider than before. "You can't fight us all," she growled. "Step aside, lion. You can't win." Kovu's voice was calm, but his eyes blazed. "I don't fight for victory," he said. "I fight for life." Then the battle began again. Kovu lunged at the first attacker, sinking his claws deep. Hyenas swarmed around him, biting, clawing, circling. Dust and blood filled the air. Kovu fought with every ounce of his strength, every instinct of the warrior he had once been. He roared again and again, defying the odds, refusing to back down. One by one, the hyenas fell limping, retreating, snarling in frustration. Zara herself leapt at his throat, and the two tumbled to the ground in a fury of teeth and claws. Kovu pinned her, his paw pressing against her chest. "Leave," he snarled, "and never return." She spat, growled, but seeing her pack beaten and broken, she finally retreated into the tall grass, disappearing into the distance. Kovu stood there, exhausted, blood trickling down his face. The baby gorilla slowly emerged from its hiding spot, looking up at the lion with awe and gratitude. It touched his paw gently, as if understanding what he had done. Kovu lowered his head, nuzzling the tiny creature. For a brief moment, the savannah was silent again, peaceful. But Kovu knew he couldn't keep the gorilla forever. It needed its family. So over the next 2 days, he began to travel through the forest, carrying the baby gently in his mouth, searching for any sign of the missing troop. They encountered dangers, snakes, vultures, even another lion who challenged him, but Kovu never let anything harm the baby. He was wounded, weak, yet unstoppable. Finally, near the edge of a dense jungle, Kovu heard distant calls, deep, resonant grunts of gorillas. The baby's eyes lit up, and it began to make small, excited noises. Kovu followed the sound until he saw them, a group of gorillas gathered near a stream. Among them was a large silverback, who turned sharply at the sight of the lion approaching. The troop tensed, ready to defend. Kovu stopped a safe distance away and gently placed the baby on the ground. The little one ran toward the troop, crying out. The silverback's expression changed instantly. Recognition and relief flooded his eyes. He rushed forward, gathering the baby into his arms. The mother gorilla appeared moments later, her cries echoing through the forest as she embraced her child again. The troop looked at Kovu with surprise. They expected hostility, but instead they saw gratitude. The silverback bowed his head slightly, a silent acknowledgement of respect. Kovu, exhausted and bleeding, nodded back and turned away. He didn't need thanks. He had done what his heart demanded. As he walked back into the savannah, the wind carried the gentle sounds of the reunited gorilla family behind him. The lion paused once, looking over his shoulder at the edge of the forest, before disappearing into the tall grass. Days later, the story of the lion who saved the baby gorilla spread across the plains. The animals spoke of it, the elephant herds, the gazelles, even the birds. It became a tale of courage, of how a predator had protected the weak, breaking the laws of nature to defend life itself. No one saw Kavu again for many weeks, but one evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, a young lioness spotted him resting under a baobab tree. His mane shimmered gold in the fading light, and though he bore the scars of many battles, his eyes were peaceful. Nearby, a group of gorillas passed through the forest edge, and among them was the same baby, now stronger, who looked toward the lion and pounded its chest softly, a gesture of respect and love. Kavu watched silently, a faint smile in his eyes, before lying down to rest. The wind rustled the grass around him, carrying the whispers of a story that would be told for generations. The lion who defied nature, the lion who fought not for hunger, but for heart, the lion who protected life even when it wasn't his own. And on that endless savannah, beneath the burning skies of Africa, the legend of Kavu, the lion who defended a baby gorilla from a pack of hyenas, lived on forever.